Hey you guys, this is Remington McElhaney coming at you from aetuts.com, and today we're going to talk about setting up a color control panel for your entire composition. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that means. That's kind of difficult to verbally describe. If we go to the color control, you can see that I have three colors right here, and we got color 1, 2, and 3. And now if we go to my example, you'll see that the purple becomes the highlight color for some of my text, and that's the background. Actually, that's the background and that's the color of the text. So if we change this to say a bluish color and we go back to the example, you'll see that it automatically updates throughout the composition. Now, let's take a look at what this is real fast, just to give you kind of a practical example of why you would want to do this. So I'm just going to delete that keyframe and we will play this video. Now, in case you're wondering, I did totally and completely make that up. If you take a look down here, yep, totally just made that up. So no, designers do not spend 4 hours a week picking out a color scheme. However, you do spend some time playing with colors, and it's really nice being able to visualize that. And what's really nice is when your client comes back to you and says, hey, you know that purple right there, let's make it darker. You don't need to go back into every single text comp, go in here, change the text color for every single instance of that. So my thought when making this was, this is a short example, it wouldn't be a big deal to just change the color. But if this was 2 minutes long, that could be a big deal. And right here you can just see where the color changes very quickly, how easy it is to go inside this color control. And if I pull up my keyframes, you can see with just a few simple keyframes, you can really change the look of your composition very quickly. Here's another example of what you can do with this technique. What I have here is I have a master drop shadow control comp, and you can see I've got my extrude and my shadow right here, and I have a kinetic text piece I'm working on, and all of the drop shadows throughout the project are linked to this control panel. It's very useful if you want your piece to look consistent and be able to easily change it. So it's important to remember this is not just limited to color effects, but pretty much any effect you'd want duplicated throughout your project. Now, I mentioned using this for picky clients, but the main draw for this is when you're creating a template. So when you're creating a template, you want it to be as easy for people to change stuff as possible. So if they had a nice color control setup, it makes it very simple for them to change the color scheme and they're not bugging you in the comments. So let's go ahead and take a look at how you would get started setting that up. We're going to create a new composition. Doesn't really matter the size. This is going to be your color control, so I will call this color control. I'm going to call it 2 because I already have one made. And then I'm going to just create some text, call it color 1. And I'm kind of weird. I like my things to look good. It really does not matter what this looks like, but I figure if you're going to take the time to make it, it might as well be somewhat pretty. So let's just duplicate. Actually, no. We're going to go ahead and make a new solid. And I made mine 200 by 200. Doesn't really matter too much. Again, this is just so you can set up where your color is going to be. Put this right here. And we can just take these and actually before we do that, what I did in the example, if you go back here, you can see I put a little bit of effort into this. So I made a background layer, light grayish. Oh, I'm gonna make that comp size. Put that here. I think what I did was I did a layer style, inner shadow, and I just tweaked those settings probably a little bit. We can leave those stock for now. Actually, let's turn that up past, it'll drive me nuts. Okay, then we'll copy that, put that on here just a little bit, just so it looks a little nicer for your master control panel. Once again though, this is just kind of unnecessary and something I like to do. So we'll just duplicate that. Now you can make this as big as you want. You can make this composition super long. I've had some set up with 15 colors in it before just for test purposes really, but I mean, you could certainly do it. So let's just take this and duplicate it one more time. Then we'll change it to color 2. Oh my gosh. Color 3. And it's important that you keep these layers separated as well. So we'll call it color 1, color 2, color 3. Now what we're going to do is we're going to have fills in each one of these squares, and that's going to be how we control the colors in our composition. So we're going to go Effect, Generate Fill. And the colors don't matter too much right now, so we'll just add some in there. Generate Fill. Make this a grayish color. Generate Fill. We'll make this white. Okay, and now what is very important, I need to take a sec to look at this, is we're actually going to be using a script, but it's basically just creating expression for you. It's very important to have your layers labeled correctly. And in order for our expression to not get confused, we need to make sure that all these fills have a different name. So if you look at it, they're all called fill, fill, and fill. So we need to just change that very simply. You can just add a number to each one. Make sure it's different though. Otherwise the expression won't be able to find what fill you're talking about. This is a problem I ran into. I had this all set up and then I started going and then it wasn't working and I couldn't figure out why. That's because each one of these is referencing the effect called fill in this color control composition, but it couldn't figure out which one because they were all called fill. Doesn't matter what layer they're on. So make sure that everyone has a different name right there, and also make sure that the layer names are slightly different. So these right here, these ones have colons. Make sure that these ones don't have colons. Whatever you choose to name it, you can name it highlight color, background, whatever makes sense to you really. Just make sure that you go ahead and do that. Something else I like to do is I like to go here and go layer, solid settings, and I just like to change that so you get that color right there. I haven't found a way to make that update automatically. I looked into that a little bit and it looked very complex and not worth it. But if anybody has a creative solution, drop it in the comments. Let's talk. That way you can just look right here and see what is color 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so now that we have that set up, if you go to aescripts.com, the script we're using today is called ft-effect instance. It says create effect instances with one click, and it works from CS3, it says through CS 5.5. I'm actually using CS6 right now and it works fine, so don't worry about that. You add it to cart and it's name your own price, so they suggest have a suggested price. You can put in whatever you want. You can put in $0 if you want it to be free, but really if you have a couple bucks, send it their way. It's a really cool script. This whole site, if you haven't been here, just has a whole bunch of really awesome stuff. So check it out and really support the community because they make some really cool stuff for you. So once you're back in here, we're going to go File, Scripts, once you've installed the script, and open up the FT Effect instance. Now let's take a look at this real fast. What you have, it's pretty basic. You have copy effect, you've got paste and instance, you've got enable/disable link, and you've got a path mode. So this is important to take a look at real fast. The copy effect, that's what you're going to do is you're going to go here, you're going to go in your effect panel, select the effect, and hit copy effect. And then this path mode, you can set it to auto. I felt like I was having issues with that, so I put it to absolute. Basically the difference is absolute is if it will reference in the expression it creates, it will reference this composition by its name so that it can find it no matter what composition you're in. If it's relative, you're basically saying in this comp, this one inside of here. So if you were going to use it inside of this one, you'd use relative. If you use auto, it should be able to do it for you. I just keep it on absolute just because that's what I want. And then the enable/disable link, that's if you create an effect instance and you decide later on that you don't want it linked up to this control panel, and you can go ahead and just get rid of it that way. So if you see we have copied effect fill 1, that's that red color, which is my highlight. Let's change that color. That color sucks. So we got this blue color. We're going to head on over to whatever example you're using. I went ahead and reset the colors so it's all just grayed out right now. And we'll find the text we want to highlight and we will paste that instance to it. Put it on that as well. It really works best if you do this from the beginning as you work. That way when you duplicate stuff, they'll keep the expression with them. And it works out better that way, but for right now this is still pretty fast. We'll go back over here, we'll take our text color, we'll copy that. Oh, you gotta go select the effect itself, not the box. You can see that's easy to do. Hit over here, paste that instance. It's really not that different than the color that's currently out there, so it's probably hard to tell. And with text, you can tell it's really easier if you do this from the beginning. That's what I did. I had the expressions linked up, so that way when you just duplicate something and then retype, it keeps the expression with it. So it's better to plan ahead when doing this and know that you may want to change the colors later, and that way you can just do it from the very beginning. But for right now, once again, still not too big of a deal to just go through here and change it. And we will take our background color. Let's make that a little gray. That's what I had before. Just go down to our background and paste it. So as you can see, everything's linked up like it should be. And then if we go to our color control, we can take this, we can change the color, and it will update throughout our whole composition. So as you can see, it really makes changing colors
very fast, very simple. We can make the text color a little darker. In my example, at the very end, I quickly changed through a bunch of color schemes so you could kind of see how easy it would be to just look at it and be like, change it. Honestly, you should do most of that in the storyboarding phase, but you never know. You have to change stuff, and this just makes it a whole heck of a lot easier, especially if this video is 2 minutes long. There's really a lot of ways to do this. You can use it based on expressions if you want to take a look. We can look at some of the expressions that are actually working for us. Hit U. You can see what it's doing right here. It's referencing the control layer right there, the layer, and then the effect fill. And there's a couple expressions you could use to do this yourself. There's a few scripts as well. This is the best script I found to do it, but there's many ways to do this. It's really not about doing it as much as planning ahead, and it's more like the technique, not really the execution. It's pretty simple if you follow and use this script right here. So there you go, you guys. I hope you found some use out of this technique of using a master color control panel. Remember, you're not limited to 3 colors. You can have 20, 30. That's a little ridiculous, but you can do it if you want. And have a great day.